Hey, it's me, Dawn B. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back, good girlfriends. Happy New Year to everybody, y'all. 2020 is on its way up out of here, and I am so glad to see it go because it has me twisted like a mug. The end of the year is always bittersweet for me because you have all the major holidays, and y'all know in November me and Rev celebrated our 10-year anniversary. But what you don't know is that my mom died a few weeks after we got married, so 2020 also marks the 10-year anniversary of her death. And I've been in a place of deep introspection. She's really been on my mind because her birthday's coming up on January 5th. And my siblings are going to start posting their annual tributes to her on their social media pages, which I have never done. While my mom and I were close, we did not share the same tight emotional bond that she did with my siblings. And this is because, and I can only speak for myself, my mom's style of discipline was simply too harsh and unyielding for me. So by the time I was out of her house, I shut her out of that part of my life. I didn't want any advice from her, and I absolutely would not allow her to tell me anything about how to raise my children. And y'all know, Black moms, that latter part, we butted heads on often. And if it got too bad, I would just ghost. And how long I stayed away depended on how mad I actually was. I told y'all, I'm a hard knot, but I'm only a copy. She is the original. But don't get it twisted. I love my mom with all my heart. First, because God commands us to honor our parents so that our time on the earth will be good and long. But second, because she is my original Shiro. My mom was one of the strongest women that I have ever known. She overcame so much adversity in her life. And I'm actually thankful that she was the hard knot that she was, because I had girlfriends in high school that I was so jealous of because their parents were so permissive. But I see where some of them have ended up, and I'm thankful. But that lack of an emotional bond really had me twisted, because when my mom died, I was not convinced of her salvation. And that brings us to today's moment of clarity, which comes not in the form of scripture today, but a story. I want to tell you the story about my mom's best friend, my Aunt Doris. And here come the tears. Doggone it, I knew this was going to happen, because I didn't share that emotional bond with my mom, but I shared it with my Aunt Doris. I didn't know my mom's salvation story, but I saw with my own eyes my Aunt Doris be converted. I'll never forget it. I was about 8, 9 years old, and my grandparents owned a 2-family house. My Aunt Doris lived on the first floor, and every Saturday night, like clockwork, one of my grandparents would stop in and say, "Doris, you coming with us to church tomorrow?" And she would say no. For years, she said no. And one day, Saturday night, she said, "I'm going to surprise Mommy and Daddy. When they ask me tonight if I'm going to go to church, I'm going to say yes." So the next day, she met them outside on the porch, and I'll never forget it because I wore this dress in honor of her. It was the same color, this aqua green with a cream color asymmetrical design, and she had on a black pillbox hat. All the women in my family are still sharp, y'all. So we go to church. Pastor Green does his thing as he always does. And then the invitation comes. And when I tell you, my Aunt Doris, it was all she could do. She ran up the aisle and she flung herself around his neck and she sobbed. And she gave her testimony, talked all about how she came to church as a joke and what have you. When I got older, I came to understand what a contrite heart is. And the Bible tells us that you come to God with a contrite heart. So I knew that my aunt had been saved. And so the night before my mother's funeral, I'm restless and I can't do anything. God knows I have this question on my mind. Am I going to see my mother in heaven, Lord? I'm not sure. I finally get to sleep and I have this dream. I walk into this big, beautiful room and it's being prepped for a party. And off to the side, there's my aunt dressed in some yellow chiffon finery with that honey blonde hair that I so remember her for. And I look at her and I say, Aunt Doris, what are you doing? And she says, I'm having a party. My baby sister's coming. And I woke up and I got to shouting because I knew that God was telling me that my aunt was in heaven waiting on mommy's arrival. And that when the time came, God willing, he called me home, she would be waiting there for me as well. God never gives you more than you can bear. I think he knew that that thing would have eaten at me. And I don't know where I would have ended up. But I am so thankful that we serve such a merciful God. Y'all, even though I'm crying, this is so good for me. And I just want to say, okay, y'all, I'm back. I had to step away for a minute because I felt a Viola Davis ugly cry coming on. I just want to close by saying this. 2020 has been a year like nobody could have ever imagined. Whatever it is that you have been through, whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is that you or any of us have yet to go through, remember, God has your back. He knows the thoughts and plans that he has for you. Thoughts and plans for you to have a hope and a future. I pray that I have encouraged your hope and know that in 2021, you have a bright future. But also remember, in 2021, life can oftentimes be very complicated. But at least twice a week, you can join me here on Chapter 3 with Dawn B and get some clarity for your everyday life. I love y'all, and I'll see you next year.